Colossians 3:2 in the message reads, "Don't shuffle along, eyes to the ground. Absorb with the things right in front of you. Look up and be alert to what is going around Christ." That's where the action is. See things from his perspective. See, as believers, we need to look up and set our sights on the realities of heaven. During this series, we're looking at Paul's words in Colossians chapter 3. He gives us great instructions on how to set our sights on the realities of heaven. Are there things that hold us back? Are there things that keep our eyes to the ground and absorbed in the things of this world? See, Paul warned the church in Colossus about how sin could affect their relationship with the Father. Sin pounces when we least expect it. If we allow something to lurk around our lives, it will continue to grow and gain a stronghold in our lives. That's why it's important for us to deal with even the smallest levels of sin in our minds and our hearts. As a church, as families, as individuals, I challenge us to deal with any sin in our lives that hinders us from looking up. Colossians chapter 3, verse 5. Last week we dealt with verses 1 through 4. Today we're going to continue our series looking at what, last week he talked about setting our sights on the realities of heaven. Looking up, as it says in the message paraphrase. But when we get to verse 5, he changes his tone a little bit. He says this, "So put to death the sinful earthly things lurking within you. Have nothing to do with sexual immorality, impurity, lust, and evil desires. Don't be greedy, for a greedy person is an idolater, worshiping the things of the world. Because of these sins, the anger of God is coming. You used to do the things when your life was still a part of the world, but now is the time to get rid of anger, rage, malicious behavior, slander, and dirty language. Don't lie to each other, for you have stripped off your old sinful nature and all its wicked deeds. Put on your new nature and be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become like Him. In this new life, it doesn't matter if you're a Jew or a Gentile, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbaric, uncivilized, slave or free. Christ is all that matters, and He lives in all of us." So there's a shift in this passage where last week it was positive. Let's look up. Let's set our sights on the reality of the heavens. But then all of a sudden he makes a turn, and it bends to the negative here. Paul spends several verses now challenging us to, instead of setting our sights on the reality of heaven and looking up, he's challenging us now to do something a little bit different. In fact, what he's telling them, and you can write this in your notes this morning, is to kill the old man. Kill the old man. Write that down this morning. That's probably the only time ever I'm going to have you write down that, some of you dads are getting nervous right now. Your kid's looking at you, and I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about, he said in verse 5, is put to death the sinful, earthly things that are lurking within you. What he's saying is, if it's contrary to the realities of heaven, if it keeps us from looking up, if it doesn't line up with God's word, then you need to kill it. Put it to death. I don't know if you saw this news story the last couple of weeks, but there was a guy that was running on a trail in Fort Collins, Colorado. When he heard something behind him, all of a sudden he looks behind him, and there's an 80-pound mountain lion that's staring right at him. The mountain lion lunged at him and attacked him, biting him in the face and the neck. The jogger's flight or fight instinct suddenly kicked in, and the guy all of a sudden does his best WWE, puts him in a sleeper hold or something, and has him submitted and kills the mountain lion with his bare hands. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know what I would do in that instance. I would probably try to run, but guess what? Rusty's probably suffered that night. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. Or maybe my fight or flight instincts would have getting away, and I would have put my best macho man Randy Savage on him. Ooh, yeah, snap into a Slim Jim, baby. You know what I'm talking about. When you're in a life-threatening situation, it may surprise you what you're capable of doing. You see, here's the thing, and I want you to catch this morning, is that sin threatens our life every day. The enemy wants to kill, to steal, and to destroy. Sin is lurking, and it's ready to pounce on you in a moment of weakness. So we have to kill the old man. We have to get rid of anything that is remotely harmful. Now, in the city of Houston this week, I don't know if you saw this news story that came out. There was a woman who went into an abandoned house. It was an abandoned house, and she went in there for one reason. She wanted to do her best Cheech and Chong impression and go up and smoke, if you know what I mean. She went in there to smoke pot. Some of you are going, what? Pastor's quoting Cheech and Chong? What's going on? What's happening here? He's telling us to kill the old man and talking about up and smoke. Oh, this is crazy. I'm lightening the mood for you this morning because I'm hitting you with some hard truth. What she did was she walked in, she was ready to smoke pot, and she discovers a tiger. She discovered, I mean, this is true. Go look it up. I'm not lying to you this morning. She discovered a tiger that was caged inside the garage of this abandoned home. Now, guess what she did? Oh, I thought it was behind me there for a second. I thought Ben put it on the screen there for a minute. She dialed 311, which is the city's non-emergency number in Houston. Let me tell you, if I walk into a house and there's a tiger in there, I'm not calling 311. I'm dialing 911 for your 411, if you want to know what I mean. I'm telling you right now, the city was skeptical because what they were thinking is this woman was hallucinating, right? She's having this hallucination. But when they arrived, they found that there was a full-grown tiger in a cage that was too small for him. And the cage was locked and the garage was locked barely, like with things that if the tiger really tried, it could have gotten out and like been roaming the streets of Houston. It's probably not the scariest thing that's ever roamed the streets of Houston, but that's another message. And so here there was very little containing it. So Laura Cottingham, however you say her name, she was with the city of Houston. She said this: "We are excited that we found an animal rescue center that's going to come and take the tiger away. This morning it's going to transfer the tiger to a location that has the facilities and the veterinarians who specialize in big cats that can take care of them." She said this, in case you're wondering, she went on to say, "It is not legal to own any kind of exotic wildlife in the city of Houston, including tigers." I don't know if you knew that or not, but in case you didn't, it's not legal. Unfortunately, sometimes people think it's cool to have an exotic wild pet. It is really important that we try to discourage this from happening. Wild animals, I'm telling you, I'm quoting this woman. She says this: wild animals are not pets. You have to tell people that. Wild animals are not pets. They can't, she goes on to say, they can't be tamed, and they really need to be in a facility that has the resources and the specialists that can take care of him. Here's what I want you to understand this morning. Like the tiger, sin can't be a pet. It can't be a pet. It's not something that you can tame. It has natural instincts, and the natural instincts will destroy you. Whatever you tolerate will destroy you. Whatever you allow to hang around in your garage, in the house, you will end up destroying you. Paul even wrote about dying to our old self in his second letter to the Corinthian church. He said in 2 Corinthians 5:14, "Either way, Christ's love controls us. Since we believe that Christ died for all, we also believe that we have all died to our old life. He died for everyone so that those who receive his new life will no longer live for themselves. Instead, they will live for Christ, who died and was raised for them." So we have stopped evaluating ourselves from a human point of view. At one time, we thought of Christ merely from a human point of view. How differently we know him now. This means, verse 17, you've heard this all your life. This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone. The new life has come. The new life has begun, as this translation says. The old is gone. The new has come. So what do we have to do? We have to kill the old man. But so many of us want to let it lurk around. We want to just leave a portion of it there allow it to continue in our life because it makes us feel good, or it's something that I just don't know that I can get rid of that. Let's look back at our text this morning, verse 5. So put to death the sinful earthly things lurking within you. Put to death. Now we could stop right there, but Paul didn't. You know what Paul did? It's what the old timers would call, Paul started meddling. You know when the preacher starts meddling, right? You know why they say that the preacher meddles? Is because when you say the preacher's meddling, it's because he's really talking about the sin that's in your life. Y'all love me this morning? We're going to kill the tiger. We're going to strangle the mountain lion this morning. I'm telling you, I'm killing the old man. Why? I'm bringing it out to light. Because here's the thing. When we bring sin out in light and we get it out of the darkness, we can begin to deal with it and get it out of our life. Why? Because we are new creations. The old is gone, the new has come. So what did Paul do? He starts naming sins. He starts telling it like it is. And he says first this, he instructs us to deal with our physical nature. Write that down in your notes. Verse 5. So put to death the sinful earthly things lurking within you, have nothing to do with sexual immorality, impurity, lust, and evil desires. Now he names 4 things here, and I want to break this down for you real quick. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, this passage of Scripture could actually probably be a 12-week series of messages. Guess what? I'm going to do it in 30 minutes today. Time. Number 1, look at this. He talks about sexual immorality. Now, your translation of the Bible may say fornication, but really that would be a incomplete definition of what this word really means. If you go back and you look at the original language, it really means a sexual immorality in general, not just fornication, but in general. So what does that mean in our culture? It means anything that is scripturally, let me say this, that is scripturally, sexually immoral. Anything. Let me tell you, it means sex before marriage. It means pornography. It means adultery. Oh, I'm going to get myself in trouble today, but I'm going to tell you I'm preaching the truth with love today. It means homosexuality. It means bisexuality. It means pansexuality. You say, Pastor, what's pansexuality? It means gender identity. Everybody's confused. They think they're this and they think they're that. You know what? My Bible still reads that God made man and he made woman. He made male and he made female. There's none of this in between here. He either made this or he made that. I'm going to tell you right now that people in this world, our culture is confused. The young generation is confused with identity. You say, "Oh, Pastor, that happens in Dallas. That happens in far off places." No, every day when I go pick up my daughter from the local high school, I see 2 girls that walk outside holding hands together. Okay? Wake up, people. It's here. It's here. There are students right now in Sulphur Springs High School, and I guarantee you in some of the other schools around here that are struggling with their gender identity. They're struggling with all this. In fact, I talked with a friend of mine who travels the nation, our missionary Kyle Embry, travels the nation, travels the states, speaking in high schools all around the states, and he said this. He said, "You know what? I firmly believe, Rusty, because I go out into the rural areas and I'm in the communities, I'm in the big communities and big cities. I fully believe that it's a bigger epidemic in the smaller areas because what happens is they get more attention in the smaller areas. Because all of a sudden we see that here in this town. Oh my goodness, it's crazy." Right now, in the next 2 weeks, the United Methodist Church nationwide will be making a decision on whether they will ordain homosexuals. They will be making a decision on whether, I'm telling you, this thing has the potential to split the entire Methodist Church. I've gone to their website. I've read things to study it for myself to see what exactly is going on. Sexual immorality is a big deal in our society. And the church is going to speak the truth. Whether it's dealing with fornication, whether it's dealing with pornography, whether it's dealing with this stuff that's big. See, sometimes what we want to do is we want to shine a light on this and say, man, homosexuality, oh, bisexuality, pansexuality, oh, that's a huge deal. All the while over here we've got lust in our heart. Listen, it's all the same. Let me tell you, it's all the same. Let me put it this way. If you're a gossip, it's the same as homosexuality. We got to kill the old man. We got to get the sin out. Oh, man, I'm telling you, I got the spirit of the evangelist on me this morning because I'm telling you, the Lord's been dealing with this, and Satan's been fighting me all week because he doesn't want this message out. God doesn't want us to shine a light on someone's sexual immorality and not address our own. Sin is sin. A tiger is a tiger. It's sin. Paul takes it a step deeper when he deals with each additional area. He says impurity or uncleanness. This is lustful impurity that is connected with luxury and loose living. Lust, this deals with the state of mind, okay, get this, that excites sexual immorality. So it deals with what is happening even before the act takes place. See, we want to think about sexual immorality in terms of just the act. But it's more than that. It goes to what's going on in our mind and our heart. In fact, the next thing says evil desires. Warren Wiersbe rightly commentates. He says it's clear that desires lead to deeds. Appetites lead to action. If we would purify our actions, then we must first purify our minds and our hearts. What we desire usually determines what we do. What we desire usually determines what we do. Now, I've been trying to eat good. You know what I'm saying? I've been trying to eat right, trying to eat healthy. We went on the 21 days of fasting. I came off of that. I hadn't had sugar. I haven't had anything. But I'm going to tell you, yesterday, y'all, the tiger pounced on me. I went to Posados. Yeah, I'm going to make you hungry right there. I went to Posados, and all of a sudden, the waiter came out, and he says, "Who wants a sopapilla?" And my hand says, "Come on, somebody. I'm talking that butter. That creamy parquet butter the spread they got. I put on that thing. I got that honey. I mean, honey's in the Bible. Land flowing with milk and honey. Come on, somebody. I poured that honey on top of that. That sugar. Oh, man, I ate that thing. Then I got up from the table. I was full. And I was walking past, and there's that soft serve ice cream machine. And I look over there, and I got that cone, and then all of a sudden it just filled itself up with a chocolate and vanilla swirl. And I ate that thing. Then I got to my mother-in-law's house. I get to my mother-in-law's house, and I'm telling you, if she didn't have a chocolate pie from the butcher shop. Now, if you've ever been to Longview, Texas, and have not gone to the butcher shop, you're missing out. It's got a bakery in there. They've got hamburgers and steaks and everything. I'm telling you, their chili's amazing. It's a great place. But you go, and it's a cardinal sin if you don't go and get some kind of dessert from the bakery. I'm telling you. Well, maybe it's not a sin, but you just can't hardly wait. So she comes and she says, "Y'all want this pie? We're celebrating Maddie's birthday. She turned 16 on Wednesday, and so we're celebrating her birthday." And I'm thinking, well, it's a birthday party. I got to do this, and So I go to my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law, there's the pies there. And so she cut a little piece about that big for my nephew. And then I said, okay, she's ready to cut my piece. And she went about that big. Put that chocolate pie on a thing. And y'all, I'm going to tell you, I ate the whole thing. So I had a sopapilla, I had ice cream, and I had chocolate pie. I didn't have supper last night. I'm telling you. I was so stuffed and so full. But here's what happens. I wanted it. It all started in my mind. If I would have said, you know what, I'm not going to do that today, and I had my mind right, I would have never ate 3 desserts. I'm not sure. I think Sasha knows that, but y'all please don't tell her right now, because she's in the nursery this morning watching the kids. But here's the point. It all starts with your heart. It all starts with your heart. It starts with your mind. It starts with your emotions, your thoughts. That's why Jesus said in Matthew 5:27, he says, you've heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery. But I say anyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in the heart. You remember, lust is a state of mind that excites sexual impurity. It's not the act, it's the thought. And he says, if you look at a woman and you've got the thought in your mind, you've already done the deed. So if your eye, even your good eye, causes you to lust, gouge it out and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your hand, even the strongest hand, causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. What's he saying there? Listen, here's the thing. You can cut off both of your eyes and you can still have a fantasy world in your mind. He's saying you've got to deal with that. You've got to deal with that lust in your life. You've got to cut it off. The issue doesn't begin with what's happening on the outside. It begins with what is going on in your mind and in your heart. Let me put it this way. It begins with what's going on in your thoughts and your emotions. Mark 7:20, Jesus then added, he said it is what comes from within that defiles you. From within, out of a person's heart comes evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, wickedness, deceit, lustful desires, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. All these vile things come from within. They are what defiles you. So what he's saying is it starts with the mind. It starts with the heart. The second thing that he instructs us to deal with is our worldly desires. Look at verse 5. He's talking about sexual immorality, but then he changes and he goes, don't be greedy. For a greedy person is an idolater, worshiping the things of this world. Because of these sins, the anger of God is coming. You used to do these things when your life was still part of the world. The King James uses the word covetousness. This is the sin of always wanting more. Whether it is things or more pleasures, a covetous person is never satisfied with what they have. Come on, they always want better homes, better cars, bigger bank accounts, their neighbor's toys, the nice boat, the vacation home in Branson. Then it can even extend to desiring someone else's job or even their relationships. If I just had so-and-so's friends, if I just had so-and-so's family, if I just had so-and-so's wife. Paul tells us this is idolatry. Why does he tell us that this is idolatry? Look at the first reason would be it's the last commandment in the Ten Commandments. Look at that, Exodus 20:17. You must not covet your neighbor's house. So what are you not covering? Their things. Then he goes on to say, you must not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female servant. So what is that? Their relationships, ox or donkey, their possessions, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. If it belongs to your neighbor and you're like, oh, I just wish I had that. Oh, I just wish I had their car. I wish I had their truck. I just wish I had their wife. I wish I had their husband. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. Listen, when we begin to have that thought in our mind, we need to deal with that, because that thought will breed an action if we don't kill the old man. The second reason he said it's idolatry is because our desire, I want you to catch this morning, is for those things and not for God. And so if you've been around here a long time, you know there's no secret. I've been driving, I've got a 2010 Dodge Caliber. When I first got that thing, I got it because I was driving back and forth 30 minutes from work every day, and I put 150,000 miles, not 150,000 miles on this car. Got it about 8 years ago. It is paid for, praise the Lord. But man, I struggle when Joey shows up with one of those nice cars from his trucks from his work. You know, it comes in a brand new Chevy truck, and I'm not a Chevy guy, but I'm still struggling because I'm looking at that. You know, when somebody comes in here with a Ford, because, you know, that's Fords are of the Lord. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. When somebody comes in here with a brand new F-150, or man, they just released the brand new Ford Rangers. Go nobody even has one yet, but I've been looking at these things. And I'm able to put some money back. I want a truck again. Like, I'm tired of driving a girl's car. I want a truck again. And I'm telling you, what happens is I can get so consumed on that, so focused on that that's all I look at. It doesn't mean that, there'll be a day that comes in here and I'll have a truck again. It may not be a brand new one. It may not be a Ford. It may be something else. But whenever that time comes and I have one again, I can tell you that I want to make sure my heart is right. That I'm not worshiping the truck. That I'm not striving and doing everything I can to live for that truck. I want to make sure that my heart is right and that I am totally in tune with what the Lord has for me. That I'm worshiping God and not things. So on Thursday this week, during our one-year Bible challenge, if you've been following along with us, every week we put scriptures for you to read in the bulletin. You can also do that through the YouVersion app. I read this, and I've been reading from a translation of the Bible called the Net Bible this year. And when I read this week, I was like, man, this is awesome. I've got to include this in the message today. Exodus 23, verse 24 says, "You must not bow down to their gods." Little g. "You must not serve them or do according to their practices." And this is why I wanted you to hear this today. He said, instead, you must completely overthrow them and smash their standing stones to pieces. You don't let an idol stay in your house. You don't do that. Man, if I bought a house and I walked in and they had the little Buddhas everywhere, I'm taking those things out of the house. I'm calling my prayer warriors. We're coming over to the house. We're grabbing the bottle of anointing oil. We're walking around that place and we're praying and we're asking the Lord to do a mighty, mighty miracle in that place, and that house will no longer be a house of idol worship, but it will become a house of prayer to Jesus and to Jesus alone. And I'm going to tell you that's what I do. God, I want you to get this. He doesn't want us to tolerate the idols in our life. He wants us to smash them. He wants us to overthrow them. He doesn't want us to leave the tire caged in the garage. We need to get rid of the sin. We need to completely overthrow those thoughts, feelings, and desires. The next thing I want you to see this morning is this. If you're with me, say amen. Paul instructs us to deal then with our attitude and communication. Write that down. Pastor, I like my stuff. I don't want somebody else's stuff. I'm with my wife, and we're fine. But now you're picking on me. Look at this, verse 8. "But now is the time to get rid of anger, rage, malicious behavior, slander, and dirty language. Don't lie to each other, for you have stripped off your old sinful nature and all its wicked deeds." So the first three that are listed there, anger, rage, and malicious behavior, what are those dealing with? Our attitude. The second three, slander, dirty language, lying, what are those dealing with? Our communication, the way that we talk with one another, the way that we interact with one another. So what he's wanting us to do is he's wanting us to check our attitudes, but he's definitely then wanting us to watch what comes out of our mouths. See, slander is speech that tears others down. Gossip would easily fit into that category. Dirty language, are we being relevant when we use this language, or are we just plain sin? See, dirty language is different from everybody. I remember when I was in college, we were sitting around with a group of people from Australia. Okay, and I don't know if you know this, but Australia, they speak, English. It just sounds different than the way we speak English. In Britain, they speak English. It sounds different than the way we speak English. And then we speak English, and some of us speak Texan. And so all of them are different. And I remember we were sitting at the dinner table. The year was probably 92, 93. It was when the Cowboys were first, with that first group of Aikman, Irvin, and Emmitt Smith going for their first Super Bowl. We were a week out. We were in Dallas, Texas. Man, we were so excited. And we looked across the table at them, and we said to them, "Hey, when you get back to Australia," because they were leaving the next day, "when you guys get back to Australia, be sure to root for our team." And the girl looks at us and she goes, "Don't say that." We said, "Say what? Are you are you a Redskins fan or something? What's the Steelers? Or what?" I said, "When you get back there, root for our team." She goes, "Don't say that." And I said, what did you say?" She said, "You said a dirty word." So what did we say? And so I said, "When you get back to Australia, no, root for our team." "Don't say that." "Root, yeah, for our team." "No, root." She wouldn't even say the word root. Like we go out, let's root for our team. You know what that means over there? It means the F word. We were sitting there, here, Christian men, young men and women, we were saying the F word in their language. Well, we had a little fun with that. But but it was the same thing. That's what they described that overseas. And so what I'm saying to you is dirty language for different people means different things. So, men of God would have probably not had as much fun with it as what we had with it at that moment, but we were still young in the Lord and in Bible college at the time. But, here's what I wanted to say to you. Are you just being edgy and relevant? Trying to be relevant, I guess, when we use language? Or we just plain simple? Do our words bring glory to God, or do they grieve the Holy Spirit? I wish I had time to unpack this morning, but I don't. Lies. We make excuses why we lie. When I was growing up, I would lie to get out of trouble, right? How many else did that? Okay, y'all are all lying right now. I would lie to get out of trouble. Man, I would try to avoid. Nowadays, what we do is, get this. We do it to avoid hurting somebody's feelings. I don't want to tell my wife that I didn't like her roast. I didn't want to tell her that new tuna surprise that she made is of the devil. Come on. We don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, so we'll say, we tell our kids, be sure to tell Grandma thank you for the sweater. And if she tells you you like it, just say yes. What are we doing? We're teaching our kids to lie. Don't do that. Small compromises. Small tiger cubs become big tigers. And so what we got to learn to do is we got to learn to speak the truth in love. And we've got to tell it like it is, but not being a jerk about it. A lie is a lie. So when it comes to our attitudes and our communications, we've got to operate in integrity and holiness. Psalm 19:14 says this: "May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." See, in our world, there is a sin problem, and it can even creep into our lives. So what we've got to do is kill the old man. 1 John 2:15. "Do not love this world more than the things it offers you. For when you love the world, you do not have the love of the Father in you. For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, or a craving for everything we see, and a pride in our achievements and possessions. They are not from the Father, but are from the world. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave." Get that. This world's fading away along with everything that we crave. The physical pleasures, the junk, and the worldly things that we have to offer. It's all fading away. But anyone who does what pleases God will live forever. And that's what I want to do. So how do we overcome this problem? How do we overcome the sin problem? It's simple. The answer is that the cure for sin is Jesus. Write that down in your notes. Verse 10, "Put on your new nature and be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become like Him. In this new life, it doesn't matter if you're a Jew or a Gentile, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbaric, uncivilized, slave or free. Christ is all that matters, and He lives in all of us." See, it doesn't matter what your background is, the cure is Jesus. He wants you to take off your old life. He wants to put the new life on. He wants us to grow in a relationship with Him. Ephesians 4:21 says, "Since you have heard about Jesus and have learned the truth that comes from Him, throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, true, righteous, and holy." Would you stand with me? See, I want to tell you today is simply this. The whole heart of this series is that we look up and we set our sights on the realities of heaven. And you say, Pastor, what does this have to do with this? I'm going to wrap this all up with this one statement. We need to live like we're leaving this earth. We need to live like we are leaving this earth. When I got ready to move from my last house, guess what we did the last couple of weeks? We didn't go to the grocery store and buy things at Walmart. We didn't pack. If there was a sale on meat, we didn't. You know what we did? We ate. We got everything out of the freezer, and we were doing that. Then we went into our closets, and we went and started giving things away and taking things that I don't want to move them. I don't want to do this. If there's something that we need to sell, we need to get rid of it. Why? Because we lived like we were leaving. We didn't live the same way that we had done previously because we weren't going to stay there. So many believers and so many followers, so-called followers of Jesus, live like they're staying here. And what God is saying through Paul to the church at Colossus, and now to the church at Sulphur Springs and at Winsboro through Hope Family Fellowship, is simply this. Set your sights on the realities of heaven. Look up. Don't worry about this lust. Don't worry about the stuff of this earth. Don't worry about how you're going to talk to somebody. Live like you're sitting around the throne room of heaven, because in a few years, guess what? If we follow Jesus Christ and we allow Him to put on the new nature, we're going to spend eternity with Him, and all of this stuff on this earth doesn't matter anymore. And so that's why He tells us to